नमः विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Thank you all for assembling for today's ISKCON of Silicon Valley's class on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So we will start with a small kirtan and then continue with the Bhagavad Gita talk. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe. Jaya Radha Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe. Jaya Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe. Radha Madan Mohan, Radhe. Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, Prabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu, Jaya Mahaprabhu. Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva, Jaya Pancha Tattva. Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Lakshmi Narasimha, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Bol. Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Nitya Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Bol. Nitya Gaura Hari Bol. श्री प्रभुपाद की, श्री राधा मदन मोहन जी की, श्रीमान महाप्रभु की, श्री लक्ष्मी नरसिंह देव भगवान की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि बोल। Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for coming to the temple. ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Today is Wednesday, so Wednesdays we have Gita class. So today I have no qualification to sit here and talk about the Gita, but just on the request of our management, I am trying to present small things whatever I've learned from the Gita and whatever I actually want to apply to myself. So, requesting everyone's permission, we can start. Om Jnanatmirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadhi Paschatya Deshatharine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarvishya kripa sindhu bhayo patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Ananti Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. So once again, so today's talk actually it was not given the topic because we just got to know it of it today. So I was myself under a kind of stress, so I thought let's just talk about stress management, whatever we learned from the Bhagavad Gita. So I've primarily tried to hear from different devotees and whatever we have read from the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, we try to put together this aspect, which could be like a practical application of how Bhagavad Gita is very useful to us in our daily life, especially in this current Bay Area, which is a tech park. So it's every tech person is highly involved in. I mean, lots of regular activities is going on. So kind of stress is part of the day. So we want to see how we could manage the stress. Of course, as part of this, we'll see first of all what is stress and really do we need it, and then we will try to see about management. One thing, of course, we didn't call it stress elimination because we don't want to eliminate stress. We only want to manage stress, because stress, that's something that you will see as we go forward. Stress is like salt in a preparation. If it is too much, then you cannot manage it, and if it's too little, you cannot have it. Salt has to be just the right proportion. Then you can taste the food. Similarly, stress in our lives, if it is too much, it's not possible. If it is too less, we become lazy. So it has to be just about the right thing, and that's what Krishna speaks in the Bhagavad Gita, and we will see how it connects to what actually Krishna was the first person, or probably 1,000 years ago, he gave this seminar to Arjuna. So on stress management. So we'll see about that. So yes, we pay our humble gratitude to all our previous acharyas and our Vaishnava acharyas who have given us this wonderful Bhagavad Gita. It was written in Sanskrit, or Krishna spoke it in 5,000 years ago, but then Srila Prabhupada very mercifully translated into English and very beautifully wrote the purports on it, and because of which we can understand the in-depth knowledge that Krishna gave to Arjuna, and we can apply to ourselves. So with that, so what is the need? So yeah, this a bit I already touched. These are just some facts and figures given here. Hope it's visible. Okay, thank you. Okay, great. So these are just some facts and figures given out here on how in today's world, it is quite a big problem. Or people might not recognize it as a problem, but everybody is under stress, like including myself. So this is actually, I request to speak to myself also, like how I could actually improve myself just by learning from what Shri Krishna has mentioned. So yes, as mentioned here, it's like if you do an internet search about stress management, you'll have first of all, various problems that people have put forward. They have lots and lots of sites how they say what kind of stress, what kind of things they are dealing with. And then you'll also have solutions, various different solutions which different people have given. Like various management gurus talk about different things. But we coming from the parampara of Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, we also have very clear guidelines on how we can really make our life successful. And that is what we will also try to, that direction is what we will try to address. So again, like as you can mention here, over 50% of US population visits basically a psychologist or a psychiatrist at least once in 2 years. Actually now, these probably numbers are slightly older, probably a couple of, at least 1 or 2, 3 years older. But today, that's probably growing even further. And even, so and especially as you see in the ages of 18 to 24, as children grow up, actually, as children are actually even in their teens, they're under more and more competitive stress. That's again competition. Coming from Indian background, we ourselves place our children under quite a lot of stress with respect to how they should be performing in their studies. Plus, the peer pressure also puts another amount of stress on them. So that's on the age of children. And then when you get to college, again college, at every level you have stress. Like I went through different levels of education here. Every level I thought, okay, this is it. 10th class done, I am over. But didn't go over. Then I said, oh, GRE done, I'm done. I'm no problem. But no. Then again I went to masters. Again, masters done, ho gaya, finished. Nothing else is needed. But then I again got into the loop. And then again somehow get published papers. Somehow things, then graduate studies, finish it. And then again, once you're in the job, the press continues. Oh, you already have this advanced degree, therefore you should perform at this level. So again, the stress. I mean, this is a continuing process in our life, and that's what we see across not just 18 to 24. As we grow up, this thing is continuously present. And of course, what is the results of stress? We can see mentioned here is primarily, I mean, there are different things, heart attacks, people getting migraines, more and more migraines, more and more asthma, or not able to sleep in the nights, what's called insomnia, and different things. And it affects not just men, women, children, everybody. And it's also, this quote is from the California Institute of Technology, where it says that 80% of surgical references can somehow be traced to underlying stress. So this is overall, there is some need of trying to understand what stress is and trying to define it so that we can understand it and therefore come up with the solution that we could probably use it. And the solution from our scriptures, we could see what solution has worked already. Because yes, I could come up with different kinds of solutions. Like as I mentioned, on the internet, you have various guys proposing different solutions. But has the solution worked over time? How long has the solution worked? Has there been any negative effects? What are the positive effects of the solution? Only when it comes from scriptures, we have scriptural evidence of whether this solution has withstood over time, whether there were positive or negative effects of the solution, what is the best things of the solution. So that is again we will get to know. So yeah, too much time, too much to do, and too little time. So this is our, I guess, our dialogue for most of the things. So I need more time. I want to enjoy my life more. I'm always running around. I never have time for myself. I have no balance between my personal life. Of course, the second paragraph is what I will attribute to my wife. I mean, she would always be saying the same thing. I'm always running around. There's so much to do. And for my personal self, yeah, of course, there is. In today's world, every company talks about the balance between personal life and work life. So there is a key word, balance. We'll talk about this keyword as we move forward. So overall, what we want is people are stressed out. And of course, chemically, what is it? It is the body's automatic response to any physical or mental demand placed on it. So, and it's also adrenaline. It is a chemical naturally produced in our body as a response to stress. So in general, the solution to stress is either we fight it or we run away from it. So fight or flight. But stress, actually, the person whom I was, His Grace Akinchana Krishna Prabhu, I was hearing him about today about this stress. He was very nicely referring to stress in terms of the definition which he was, or how he was trying to explain it was in terms of a guitar. So have you all seen a guitar? So guitar has how many strings? Approximately, guess. 5? Any other guess? 6 strings. And every string of the guitar, so you would see how generally a guitar is there. On one end it is tied up, and on the other hand you have some tuning screws. And every string of the guitar is of varying thickness. And based on what kind of frequency it must produce, you tune the guitar. That is, you tighten the string. So if it is too loose, none of the strings will give any, or basically no music at all. But if it's too tight, as soon as you play it, it'll break. So the tuning has to be just right, so that the frequency of music that comes out of every guitar, so that all of them, when they come together, that places the best, that comes as a nice music. So when they are all tuned in on the appropriate way, then what we hear out of the guitar is much more pleasing to the heart and to the mind. But if it is not, then so stress is something similar. Stress is if you just lose it. I mean, there is no stress in life, become lazy. And if there's too much become stress in life, we become crazy. So we just need to be in between, like tune it appropriately. That is why as we go ahead, we'll see what are the different problems of stress, but we will try to say, okay, where is stress good and where is stress bad, or how do we handle it in an appropriate way. Yeah. Again, there's some more definition. It's a form of tension or strain in the body or the mind for which there is no release or outlet. When under stress, one isn't like a car in the neutral gear with the accelerator on, trying to just exert internally but unable to do so. So it's just like a silent killer. The negative effects of stress makes us weak and leaves us an easy prey for all sorts of physical and psychological problems. Generally, it is not very easily addressed or accepted by people. Like even if I am under stress, I might not accept it very easily, because again, their false ego is coming into picture that, if I accept I'm under stress, I'm actually showing that this is too much for me, whereas I can perform so much more. So this is a very nice combination which Maya uses, or the material energy uses. So we have our false ego and we have our tendency to enjoy. These two things together makes us work more harder and harder. Although we are stressed, we do not accept it when we still go on further and further and further until the point we probably break out. So this balance is a key thing, or we need to understand how to take care of our false ego as well as what I want to achieve and still keep my life going smooth. So this, of course, talks about, is all stress bad? No. Moderate levels of stress may actually improve the performance and efficiency. Actually, if you see in India, we perform best under pressure, or at least I would say that I till now was performing best under pressure, because in India we come from a place where in the whole year I don't study. Just about before the exam, 1 month, the exam is there, I need to study. That's it. That pressure pushes me across the border. So over the year I might not study, but that pressure, and I've been, this was a common dialogue that I used to pay. I perform great under pressure, but that performance great under pressure might only last for a small amount of time, because we might be heating up the body, which is also a machine which is given to us. So we have to moderate ourselves. So that is a key thing. So it's not that only under extreme pressure you will perform. Of course, some moderate levels of stress is needed, as is mentioned here. Otherwise, we will not have an aim. So moderate level of stress gives us an aim to achieve something. And then, of course, if it goes beyond it, then of course we have a problem. So too little stress may result in boredom, nothing much to happen, and too much stress may cause an unproductive anxiety level. So that's where things and balance is needed. So again, here we have identifying stressors. So situations, activities, and relationships that cause trauma to one's physical, emotional, or psychological self. So these are stressors are those things which can agitate us or which can make us go more prone to stress. And these are some of them, like school, work, family, relationships, legal things, financial things, health case, health, environment, living situation. All of these, we live in a daily environment with all of these under, and all of these in some way or the other would cause things for us to be worried about. But if we can manage, like as a devotee, or at least as we learn from the Bhagavad Gita, it actually teaches us a practical lesson of how we can take care of all of these stressors and be still sane and live our life in a wealthy, very, very healthy, positive potential, positive way. So of course, if we don't do that, what happens is these are the things. Negative effects of stress. Primarily, physically, the effects can be seen as weight gain or hair loss or palpitations, high blood pressure, things like that. And emotionally, there are mood swings, anxiety, depression. One of the biggest problems in today's world is depression. Like students leading to depression and under pressure, not able to perform. Like when I was hearing about things, I've heard about two examples where one student was he graduated from the Indian Institute of Technology, one of the highest, best schools. And of course, because of the pressure of work, he couldn't say no to his bosses, and then that pressure just led to his taking his own life. So it's an example. Recently in the news we heard about it. Of course, these kind of news will not be published much, but we can still find out. So there are different things, and so it can lead to quite a lot of negative effects. So again, stress is can be defined as a state of mind which discomforts or distorts a comfortable way of living. And it's also called as a state of dis-ease. So you're not in a position of ease. So that's primarily, we could categorize it as a disease. And then, of course, we know it's one of the biggest things of in today's world, that even not AIDS, of course, and cancer is, of course, there, but stress is also another aspect which is causing a lot of deaths. And scripturally, scripturally it has been defined. I did not get a reference here, but in the scripture we have a reference to this particular slide where it has been clearly given on how different conditions affect us and put us in stressful conditions. These are primarily, if you are born in high parentage, basically if you are born in a big family, then the standards that are expected of you are higher, and again that could cause stress. So like that, you have various things. Like a wealthy man, he has a fear of losing the wealth. A powerful man, he's worried about even a more powerful person than him. Or a person who deserves honor or who is looking for honor, he's fear of dishonor. And a person who is beautiful has a fear of aging faster. And who is an expertise in a field, he's got fear of defeat. Hypocrisy, of course, fear of being exposed. For the embodied, which is the fear of death. So we have various things. Hare Krishna. So, and for healthy a person, it's a fear of disease. So all of these factors are there. So we will see just examples of some of these to understand how these conditions actually mentally affect us. Okay, so this is one person. Do you guys recognize him? Sorry? Yes, Muhammad Ali. So what did he say? So at one point of time, when a particular reporter asked him, he said, "I am the greatest. Not only do I knock them out, I pick the round in which I knock them out." So that was his statement when he was at the peak of his career. So he just said, "I am the greatest." So he was a perfectly healthy person, and of course, one of the best boxers. But whatever he had, a few years later, just with the Parkinson's disease, he became primarily. What's that? I missed that. Yeah. So somebody asked him, "Are you still the greatest?" And he was sure enough to recognize that I am still the greatest, but I am the greatest fool, because he forgot that as the body ages, the same health does not continue with us. So of course, and for all of us, in that condition is there. We might be healthy right now, but as the body ages, we know for sure that the health is going to decline. Again, that is in some sort of a stressful condition. Then you have, of course, for the healthy, there is also something called as the fear of disease. This person, he is Mr. Boeing. So the person who actually made the company Boeing, and he started it from the base, scratch, and he grew it into a big company, and of course owned practically an entire island to himself. But what fear did he have? He had a urinary tract problem. So every time he had to go just to the toilet, he was very, very stressed. He couldn't. So although he had everything, but just a natural thing which is very easy for anybody in the world, he couldn't do it. So this is another case of how various different types of things that could be affecting us. Again, high parentage. This is a thing, like when children are born to really good parentage, even in devotees, that's a usual thing. You've seen, if a children is born to a devotee family, the expectation on the child is very high on how he grows up and how he becomes a wonderful Vaishnava. But of course, those can internally also, if it is not handled properly, it could also lead to a pressureful situation for the child. And of course, now we know according to there are people who help us on how to raise children in Krishna consciousness. Again, it takes care of these things. So high parentage is also the thing. My parents want it to be this way. So that's something that is usually known. If I'm an engineer, I want my son to be an engineer. Or if I'm a doctor, I want my son to be a doctor. Things like that. But of course, it might not be always the case that by birth, it's not that a person will become the same thing what a father is. Of course, the caste system in India also came up like that. Like by birth, if I am the son of a Brahmana, I'm for sure a Brahmana. But quality, if a person is not a Brahmana, then that's how the whole degradation of the caste system took place. Because people considered more on the case type, on the aspect of birth and not on the aspect of qualification. A person does he really have the qualification to be a Brahmana? So again, these are some things. What's going on? Okay. And for the beautiful, it is the fear of aging. Of course, every person who is beautiful, or to every person, he or she is always beautiful. Like if I look into my mirror, I think, oh, I'm the best looking guy in this world. So it's always the case. And then this is the case of this one example of this lady who was a French actress. French actress. So the day she saw a single wrinkle on her face, she just put herself into seclusion because she couldn't handle that. Because she was so used to being beautiful and being praised to be beautiful, that a small change, she could not handle it, and therefore just went into seclusion. So when stress, that's kind of a stress on her. Like basically, this fear of aging became so stressful that just out of seclusion. But it's fact. This is a fact of life, that's what happens to each and every one of us. As we grow, things change, and so when we come to the understanding on how we can learn from the Bhagavad Gita, we'll connect all these points. Now the points might be open-ended, but we'll see how they all get connected together. So it's the beautiful have a fear of aging. So the whole cosmetic industry, of course, flourishes on this principle. Nobody wants to get old. Hare Krishna, welcome. So then for the wealthy, there is a fear of losing wealth. Like during the Great Economic Depression, this is an old thing, but during 1929 primarily, as the prices, as the supply exceeded demand, everything started the deflation basically took hold of the economy. So many businesses went bankrupt. So their losses amounted to many, many billions. And even today, every person who has wealth, if you try to interact with a person who has wealth, first thing he's going to think about is, okay, is he there to take something from me. So that's a usual thing. Every person who has wealth has a fear of losing that wealth. So that's the continuous. Even though I have the most achieved things, but still I am under constant pressure to keep it more and more and more, so that otherwise I might not be able to survive without it. So, and then for the powerful, it's a fear of competition. Today, I mean, in our tech world, we very well understand each and every company is trying to see how they can become more and more powerful. Like, for example, Apple wants to be on the top of all the cell phones. Of course, finally Microsoft lost the battle, and he said that, okay, let me give up on Windows Phone and just giving up on the whole Windows phone thing. So, but the thing is, yeah, I want a stronghold. Android or Google versus Facebook, different things. Every company. So even the company, although it is the most successful company, it's still the CEOs or the management under the company are still under a lot of stress just to make sure that they are doing better and better and better and better than at least better than the opposing company who's going to at any point of time take an idea away out of me or win over me. So these things, so that means these points are just to show that in every aspect of life, like in different ways, the stress gets to each and every one of us. And I guess this is the fear of being dishonored. For a person who has been honored, dishonor is worse than death. So, of course, here I'm giving an example of Hitler, but let's take the Mahabharata, for example. In Mahabharata, this is a small story about Duryodhana. So, Duryodhana, during the time, he kind of somehow made sure that the Pandavas are exiled. Pandavas, if all of us know Mahabharata, the Pandavas, were his cousin brothers. So, he made sure, because they were going to take over his throne, he made sure they were exiled. And when they were in the forest, he wanted to be so much bad to them, rude to them, that he was somehow, because he knew in the forest they were just living on simple grains, simple things. So he established a big major tent right opposite the banks of the river where they were positioned, and he was just lavishly throwing out kind of parties to tell them that, okay, I have all of this, but you don't have anything. And he was so much trying to show his ego or pride or things like that. But then what happened? Some of the I guess the Gandharvas or some people a little above human world. So they attacked Duryodhana, and they were because of course he was in their territory. So they attacked Duryodhana, and at this point of time, all of his friends ran away. Karna ran away. His close brother Dushasana ran away. So all of these people ran away, and Duryodhana was caught by the Gandharvas, and they tied him up, and they were like they were going to kill him. But this news quickly came to Maharaj Yudhishthir, who was on the opposite side of the bank. And Maharaj Yudhishthir, because he was a perfect brother, a perfect king, an ideal king, he said to his as soon as he heard this news, he wanted to save his cousin brother Duryodhana. Bhima, of course, we know, strong guy, strong-minded guy. He said, no, let him die right away. It's good. But of course, then Maharaj Yudhishthir told Arjuna and Bhima to go and save Duryodhana. So they fought with the Gandharvas, and then they saved Duryodhana. And so he was about to lose his life, but because of Arjuna and Bhima, his life was saved. And for him, this dishonor, basically, he was saved by these people whom he came to completely, like he had come to dishonor them, but he became actually dishonored, and they were saved by this person. So that was so much of a like something that, this is again an example of stress on him. His stress was so huge, he could not withstand it, and he was going to take his life, and he was like ready to give up his life fast unto death. And because he said that this is not something I can even live with. Of course, he didn't die because he is an expression. Hi, George. He is a personification of the demons. So the demons from the Patala Loka, they actually came, took him to the Patala Loka, And then they again nicely brainwashed him. They're saying, you are the representative of evil, and therefore you have to be there on earth, and you have to take care of, you have to fight against the Pandavas, and you have to win over them. And they gave them all the courage, and him all the courage and things like that, and then they sent him back to the earth. And that's why, of course, although this was worse, dishonor was worse than that, but he came back, and again he took the whole thing of fighting against the Pandavas. So that's just one small anecdote there. Here we are talking about Hitler. Of course, he went into hiding, like just by words, he was able to convince people that he could kill people. So, but he went into hiding after the World War, and actually supposed to have committed suicide, because after the World War, this dishonor was not at all possible for him to withstand. That's a thing. Yeah, peer pressure is another thing. So this is true just of the present, but since the beginning of human existence, like as a fear of defeat in debate. Like in previous ages, sporting events were not as much there. Like it was not that India is today having a cricket match with Pakistan, and everyone in the country is up and right. In those days, in the ancient days, the primary thing was about debates. Like a person who is very good, he used to come to another place and he used to challenge the scholars of one place for a debate. And they used to debate on scriptural knowledge, and then whoever wins is the master again. So things like that. At that point of time, that fear of debate was one of the things. So this is another small story of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on just a small anecdote I put in. This is, what was his name? You remember? Prakashananda Saraswati? No, not Prakashananda Saraswati. Keshav Kashmiri. Thank you so much. So there is one scholar called Keshav Kashmiri. He was the most scholar, he had the direct boon of Mother Saraswati. That Mother Saraswati, for people who might not know, is the goddess of learning. So she gave a boon to this Keshav Kashmiri, that when he speaks, she will be on his tongue and make sure that he can defeat every person who is there in front of him. So he was like the most exalted and the biggest scholar of the world. And so he used to go from place to place in a big caravan with lots of his assistants, and people used to announce that Keshav Kashmiri, the big person, the big Pandit, is coming. So when he came to Nadia, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staying, that is at that time he was Nimai Pandit. So Mahaprabhu was there. All the Pandits ran away. Yes, and right, and the Pandits of Nadia, they all came together and they said that, okay, we cannot do anything against him, but Nimai is a small boy, so let's put him. He was a small boy, although he was a small boy, he was a great scholar. So let's put him against this Keshav Kashmiri, and if he loses, we can for sure say, he's a kid. He loses, that's fine. But if he wins, then we are all saved. So they wanted to actually put Nimai against Keshav Kashmiri. But just before the day of the thing, on one of the evenings, he met Keshav Kashmiri at on the banks of Ganga. And he really praised Keshav Kashmiri and applauded him for whatever he has done. And he told him, okay, can you please write a song in the praise of Mother Ganga? So then Keshav Kashmiri, at the start, directly he flew out lines and lines of poem in the praise of Mother Ganga. And because Mother Saraswati was just sitting directly on his tongue, and he could just speak one eloquently. Then after he did the whole thing, and he was expecting Nimai to praise him, and Nimai did that, and then he said, no, two places, can I point something? So then he was taken aback. He said that you have mentioned Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva. So that's correct, right? Bhavani. Yeah, the wife of Lord Shiva. So he says that Bhavani itself directly means wife of Lord Shiva. So you don't need to add another thing saying that Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva. So this kind of thing nobody had ever caught in Keshav Kashmiri. And he became so perplexed that, I have done a mistake, and it was very hard for him to digest it. But because Mahaprabhu, dishonor, as we are talking about like debates and things, dishonor is worse than death. And Mahaprabhu knew that if Keshav Kashmiri is defeated in an august assembly in front of all the people, and he is if he defeats him, then it will be too much for him to take, and he'll probably give up his life. That's why an evening before that itself, he kind of very nicely defeated Keshav Kashmiri and also kept his false ego in place. He took away his pride, but kept his false ego there in place. So that way, he was able to be okay. And then, of course, next day morning or in the night, Mother Saraswati himself came into his dream and he asked her, "You promised me that you will be on my tongue. What happened?" And she, of course, told him, the person who in front of you is actually my own master. So in front of him, I am nothing. So then she revealed to him who Mahaprabhu was, that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then he understood and then he became his friend. So this is a small, just a side story, but again, we can see how important, in today's world, nobody is going to be like as politeful. If it's a competition, it's a debate, you're gone. Either you go perish either you have to perish or I have to perish, I have to move forward. That's the way things are. Nobody really is careful. And of course, hypocrisy, this is another thing. Like people have fear of being exposed, because in most cases people have done many kind of being hypocritical. For example, this is one pilled down man fraud case, where this is called the thing of the missing link. So scientists said that, or Darwin, for example, he proposed that man evolved from apes. So they found, of course, skulls of apes. So they were able and then they also found skulls of man. So, but the missing link was, if he has evolved from an ape to a man, there has to be some point of time where you find a skull which is like kind of man or half ape kind of thing. But nobody had ever found it. So then suddenly one professor or one scientist in England, he found a skull which had the lower portion jaw of a ape and the top portion was of a human being. And then he proposed it, this is the missing link I have found. So this proves Darwin's theory. Of course, that time it was taken, scientists accepted, applauded him, things like that. But then later on, they found out very clearly, they found out that this guy primarily took the jaw of an ape separately, took a skull or the top portion of a man separately, put them together, and then proposed that this was the missing link. Of course, scientists really had the fear that this will be exposed. Things like this don't come out. Like there's one wonderful scientist and a devotee, Dr. Michael Cremo. So he does lots of research on archaeology, and he has put forth so many evidences on how Vedic, basically this Darwin theory is not at all the right theory. Of course, this one, the scientific community tries to push them behind the screens. Most of these evidences are not shown outside. So again, that's because, they've already shown that Darwin theory is existing. Evolution, human evolution has happened based on Darwin theory. Now, if they take back their words, they will be proven, and therefore people will not believe in science. Again, that's a fear. There's a stress on the scientific community also to continue with what they have already come up. So you just cover up things and move forward. The last, but the most, very crucial point is for the embodied, death is the greatest fear. And what do we mean by embodied? Would you like to take a stab on that mic? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so basically we have material body, so we think when we identify ourselves with the material body, and if anything happens to the material body, then I will cease to exist. Because my existence is so tightly tied with it. That's why.
Correct.
It's a belief.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So Gaurav Prabhu nicely told, when we say we are the embodied, when we understand that we are the soul who is within the body, and we understand, when we do not differentiate between the soul and the body, and we think that we are the body, that's when we have the death becomes our greatest fear, because we know for sure this person is dying beside me, that person is dying, that person is dying, someday I will also die. But the thing is, of course, we try to keep ourselves thinking that, okay, I am never going to die. But for a person who does not know the spirit and the difference between spirit and body, he is for sure going to die. And then that is the kind of biggest fear. Like, for example, Walt Disney, he of course, he created Disneyland, things like that. And then when he was about to die, he made sure that he funded some millions of dollars to some set of scientists, and he said, whatever be the case, how much ever money you want, take it from this fund and make me alive back again. So, and then of course he died. And these scientists, of course, they got a lot of money, so they were working on things like, they're really going to almost trying to make him alive again. Of course, we know it's not possible, but still they will trying their best. And then of course then came the relatives of Walt Disney, because now they got all the fortunes. They knew that if he comes back alive, they're not going to get the money. So they put more money into these people and told them, whatever be the case, don't make him alive. So finally, of course, the scientists won. They got a lot of money, but of course, Walt Disney never came back alive. So this is the case. Like, every person who is born has a fear of death from the time he understands what death is. And we all know it comes without a call. Nobody knows when it can come. That's why when a person asks us, like, how old are we? Prahlad Maharaj defined death as our age, as our closeness to death. We might be 55 years old, and if we are going to die at 90, then we are okay. But let's say if I'm 5 years old and I'm going to die at 7, then actually I am more closer to death. I'm more aged than the other 55-year-old person. So that's another lot of stress. So overall, like, we saw these 9 different conditions of stress. So what comes out is there are actually 2 types of stress. So one is this eustress, and then one is the distress. So this eustress is basically a pleasant or curative stress. We can't always avoid stress, of course. In fact, sometimes we don't want to. Often it is controlled stress that gives us our edge in performance-related activities. And distress is an unpleasant or disease-producing stress. Chronic, sustained, uncontrolled stress of a negative type may lead to a compromised immune system, illness, and even death. So there are like these 2 terms. So that's why we were initially talking about stress in terms of being like a guitar, or in terms of being like salt. Stress has to be tuned properly. If it is tuned properly, then it is eustress. If it is not, then it's distress. And so we want to be in the first category, and not in our lives, not in the second category. So, and how? So of course we can't do away with all stress factors. A bit of stress is always required. Of course, as you can see, day to day things will keep changing, markets will keep changing, things might happen without our notice. So things will be coming, but how are we going to be fully stressed out, or how are we going to handle it? So just basically, if it rains, you have to use an umbrella, something like that. So the lesson that we can take is, if one takes proper precautions, one will be unaffected despite all stressful factors. And how to take these proper precautions? Oh yeah, this is another important aspect of now we are going more deeper into understanding what exactly stress is. So stress is actually the difference between our expectations. So our expectations and the actual reality. So if we have a big expectation, then of course what we can actually get is different. Then that wide gap causes the wider that gap, the more stress and the more fear it is. Of course, this is a simple curve. Go ahead. You can use that. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so thank you. Actually, we initially spoke about this. Like, this is an example. Like, if you are a school-going child, so there has to be some amount of pressure. We call it pressure, like on the child, so that he performs well in studies. But that pressure, when it goes beyond some limit, it becomes, so when the pressure is in within limits, where the child could be motivated towards performing better, then it's eustress. But if the pressure becomes beyond what the child can handle, then it becomes distress for the child. And of course, it is a case like peer pressure, like when the child is performing, oh, uska beta dekho, kitna acha pad raha hai, iska beta dekho, kitna acha pad raha hai, iska beta. So this one joke, I'll add, one boy flunked in his course, and then he came to his father, who was, and he told father, and of course he came, and the father asked, kya hua, test ka kya hua? Does everybody understand? I'll take to George also. So what happens? What happened to your test? So then the child tells the father, professor ka beta fail ho gaya. So that means the professor's son is failed. So it's okay, but what happened to your result? No, the lawyer's son has failed. Okay, lawyer's son has failed, that's fine. What happened to your result? The astronaut's son has failed. Oh, but then what happened to your result, I'm asking you. Then he says that, professor ka son fail ho gaya, doctor's son has failed, astronaut's son has failed. Are you the president of America that your son will not fail? It was just, I hope I got through the joke here, but this is the case. So this competition, and in terms of, we were talking about salt, and salt, if salt is very high in a preparation, the preparation cannot be had, right? And if salt is very low, then also preparation cannot be had, like a food preparation. But the salt has to be just about right. Then we will say that the dish has come very well. Nobody says that the salt is just perfect, but the dish has come very well. Same way, stress is like that. If we do not have stress in our life, which is the positive side of stress, then we will become lazy. So we will not have aims. We will not have things to achieve, and things could just make us lazy. But if we have too much of that stress, then what happens? We become crazy. So basically, everything becomes a trouble. So it's kind of a inverted U. So this is like no stress, this is like more stress. And our performance goes like this. So as the stress increases, our performance goes, but beyond a particular point, as the stress increases, it dies down. And most of us, actually, in today's life, we either live in this part of the curve or this low end of the curve. Like there is no stress and we are just relaxed and life is just lazing around. Or most of us actually are on the other side. We are just stressed like anything with all the things that is going on. So the aspect of this stress management thing, that's why I mentioned before that we are not calling this stress elimination. We are calling it stress management. So you want to manage your life in such a way that we are able to actually live a balanced life, and which actually is helping us focus us towards our goal of life, and also not just living an animal, just like an animal, not doing anything, but actually achieving our purpose. And that's what we will come towards. So when we talk about eustress and de-stress, eustress is that portion of stress which is needed for us to actually keep us on a positive note, whereas de-stress is something that actually pushes off. And of course, as we saw, there are various categories how stress could come into our life. So in all of those categories, we need to handle them properly. And we will see how we will handle them. Hopefully that kind of answered the question. Thank you. So yeah, you can't do away with stress factors. Causes of stress, we kind of got through that. Yeah. So now we talk about the solutions. How to actually we have to do de-stress. How we can de-stress ourselves. So there are two kind of ways. One is symptomatic control, symptomatic treatments. On the other is pathological treatments. So symptomatic treatments is something like, if you have a boil on our hand and we just get a cream and that cream takes care of the boil, or you just remove the boil, the boil might go out, but some next day or a couple of days later, the boil will come back again. So although I have, if I have got an ointment which will take care of the boil, or let's say, as you see here, you see a boil on your friend, you just pierce it. That's it. Ouch, finished. It's gone, no problem. But actually, the boil will come back again on another part of the body. Why? Because what was done was just symptomatic treatment. That you just saw the boil, just take it out. Something similar is that for stress, people first take on to symptomatic countermeasures. Like if I'm stressed, I need to see a movie. If I'm stressed, I just need to smoke a cigarette. Like that's one of the things. Like I need to smoke so many cigarettes in a day because I'm stressed. I just need to relax myself. So that's cigarette. And then so it's written that first you take the cigarette, then the cigarette will take you away. So that's the symptomatic treatment. But symptomatic treatment only covers the topmost symptoms. It doesn't really affect it doesn't really cure it. So what we need is the pathological treatment, where if there is a boil, you take him to the doctor, and the doctor sees that, okay, there is a boil, he will give you two things, two kinds of medicines. One is a medicine which will control the symptom, and then second medicine is which will control the root, or which will address the root cause of that boil. And the root cause of the boil is generally the contamination of the blood. So he gives not just a ointment, but he also gives an injection or a tablet which will go inside and cleanse our blood. So when the blood is cleansed, then the boil automatically, of course, the boil will need to be taken care of, but no more boils will come. So that is the thing of, you want to treat the symptom as well as the root cause that is behind it. So the same thing is with stress. In the domain of stress management, we have to take care of the underlying cause of stress. So how do you put ourselves in a situation where one is not influenced by factors producing distress? Excuse me. So you may take to simple smoking. You are simply postponing the problem. So these are things like you're not addressing the root cause of stress. So every person has his priority to attachment. Like when we saw how all these conditionings causes fear, and this fear causes stress. So all of these conditionings are attached to our priorities and the attachments that we have to them. And all that attachment is actually born as a symptom in the mind. So when we're talking about stress management, we will talk about two types of stress management. One is at the bodily level, and then one at the level of the mind. Because the mind is actually the central place, or the pleasure, the place of all pleasure and displeasure. Thus, managing stress actually has a lot to do with managing the mind. So finally it comes down that stress on all of these things, however we have looked at it, it actually comes down to how we can manage our mind. If we can manage our mind, then we can very easily take care of stress. And mind is a powerful entity, which we might not know. Like it's really a powerful entity, and it can we will see. So, for example, this guy came in news some time back where he could just sit in ice without any problem. And of course, then when people asked him how, he told it that I credit my power to sit in ice just to my meditation, where I'm able to control my bodily temperature just by this tantric meditation that I can do. Just by controlling his mind, he has actually controlled his senses. And we will come to that thing as to how that's possible. Okay, let me get there. So there's another news article about this person who in January of 1999, he traveled 100 miles north of the Arctic Circle to run a half marathon in his bare feet on that cold ice. Again, how was he able to do it? He just simply attributed it to it that I know my body, I know my mind, and I know what I can do with it. So just by this mind control. And this is an example that is very common in India. We can see many yogis and babas in India. Like this person, he's very comfortably sitting on a bed of nails. All the nails are pointed upwards, not on downwards. So he's relaxedly sitting there. And we have heard about many sadhus and saints in the Himalayas who can do amazing things like this, levitating themselves, things like that. Because it's just based on the strength of the mind. And that's where we come, where we get in touch with the Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says to Arjuna that Bandhur Atmanastasya Yenatmaiva Atmana Jitaha Anatmanastu Shatrutve Varte Tatmaiva Shatruvat. For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So in Bhagavad Gita, let me just open up that verse. Not verse, but the photo. Where is it? Yeah, you might have all seen this particular photo in the Bhagavad Gita. So this is a very wonderful explanation which Krishna gives in the Bhagavad Gita, where he talks that there is a chariot. This chariot is basically our body, and the chariot is run by 5 horses, and these 5 horses are the senses, or all are 5 senses, and then the reins that are holding the horses is nothing but the mind. The driver is the intelligence, and the passenger who's sitting in this vehicle is we, the soul, the spirit soul. So how can this chariot move in the right direction? When the intelligence or the driver is able to control the senses, which is the horses, through the power of the reins. So that means intelligence needs to control the mind, and the mind will control the senses. But in most cases, or in all of our cases, or at least in my case, it's actually the reverse. It's the mind which is actually controlling my senses, and the mind is controlling my intelligence. And therefore, what happens? Mind can just take me here and there. And that's where, when we come into stressful situations, or situations that can cause stress, our intelligence is saying, to handle this, we need to do it in this particular way. But the mind says, no, I just want to enjoy, I just want to do this, and therefore I needed you to do it like that, and therefore we follow the mind. But Krishna is saying that if we can control our mind, then the intelligence is making all the decisions, because mind just proposes, it just, do this, do that, do this, do that, do that, do that. Intelligence is the one who's going to analytically think about it, weigh all the pros and cons, and say, yeah, like this is good or this is bad. So if that intelligence is under control, then he can direct the mind in the appropriate direction, which can direct the senses in the appropriate direction, and that will help move our body or our life in the right direction. That's where Krishna is very beautifully saying that one who has conquered the mind is best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his mind will remain the greatest enemy. So that's one aspect, which the first aspect of how we can overcome stress, and we will see how we do that. Yeah. So I guess I gave a part of the thing beforehand, but the solution. Till now we were talking about stress. These are the types of stress. This is what is happening. This is what is happening. All these kinds of things will cause stress. Everything. But what is the solution? And how do we apply, how do we come to the solution? The solution lies in this, the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. As you can see on the top of this book, this Bhagavad Gita was told by Krishna 5,000 years ago to Arjuna in the midst of a battlefield. Like Arjuna was in the most stressed condition. So he was about to fight, like he had actually prepared. Of course, the Pandavas were, George, for you, I will just say, a little about have you heard about the story, Mahabharata? So there were these Pandavas, which are the cousins, and the Kauravas, they both are cousins, and these were the righteous ones, and the Kauravas were the kind of not so good ones. And actually the kingdom of the whole world was belonging to the Pandavas. This is cutting short everything. But then the Kauravas took that over, and they were like putting the Pandavas on the backstage. So finally, the Pandavas came back, and they prepared themselves for 13 years to fight against the Kauravas and actually establish Dharma. So they were about to start a fight in the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and at that point of time, Arjuna, who had actually already prepared for 13 years to fight against the whole these Kauravas. But when he came there on the battlefield, he saw his grandfather on the opposite end. He saw his teacher on the opposite end, his most loved teacher, and he saw all his cousins on the opposite end, and he became totally kind of stressed. He said that, how can I fight these guys? I will quit everything. I cannot even lift my bow, and he just put his Gandiva bow aside. And that's when Krishna spoke 5,000 years ago, the Bhagavad Gita, which is directly it can be told as that is the original stress management lecture which was given by Krishna himself, where clearly Arjuna was under extreme pressure. But when Krishna took him through all the different chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, like through all the different stages, then finally at the end he accepted and said that, "Oh Krishna, now everything is clear. Now I have become things have become clear to me, and therefore now you tell me whatever you wish to do, I will do." So he became like, so instead of he still had the pressure, so he still maintained the pressure, because of which he was able to fight the war. Let's say for a Kshatriya, if he is not under, he's really good, he will not be able to fight such a war with so many people. So he maintained a positive stress or positive pressure in his, after that, and then he continued, and instead of just lamenting with the negative aspect of it. So that's where Krishna, and so that's what we say that as a solution for this whole thing, this first is scripture. It's basically coming from the Gita. So I think I've already gone through the whole thing, that there must be a proper study of the mind in the form of science. So based on such a theory, so what originally I started off, that there are many different solutions to stress. People propose it, but it just does not withstand withstand the whole time. But whereas Bhagavad Gita, whatever has been presented, stress management principles have been presented in this book 5,000 years ago, are still being used widely throughout the world. So not a single statement of whatever is written here has been proven false. For example, we can see how Emerson described the Gita. He said, "I owe a magnificent day to the Bhagavad Gita. It was the first of books. It was as if an empire spoke to us, nothing small or unworthy, but large, serene, consistent, the voice of an old intelligence, which in other age and climate had pondered and thus disposed of the same questions which exercise us." And then Mahatma Gandhi said, "When doubts haunt me, when disappointments stare me in the face, and I see not one ray of hope on the horizon, I turn to Bhagavad Gita and find a verse to comfort me, and I immediately begin to smile in the midst of overwhelming sorrow. Those who meditate on the Gita will derive fresh joy and new meanings from it every day." So this book, as such, is used by not just people from the East, but also many philosophers from the West, and they've applied it, and they were able to handle their situations. So that's the thing. This is another classic quote that from the Economic Times, that the best prescription for stress management and counseling on the spot is in the Bhagavad Gita. Arjuna was under tremendous pressure to win the Mahabharata war, but he was distressed at the thought of fighting against his relatives, friends and elders. Great warrior though he was, he broke down under the stress, and laying aside his weapons, declared to Krishna, his charioteer, that he would not fight. So this was the stressful situation that Arjuna was in. And then Lord Krishna helped Arjuna emerge from the after effects of stress by taking him through the complete pathway of Sankhya Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga, and made him to the conclusion, "I am now ready to do whatever you say to fight the great war." So we can very nicely see from this episode of stress management counseling session evolved a profound theory which the rest of the world can use it every day of their lives. Of course, we've just spoken about this. The second aspect we need to understand as part of the solution for stress management is the aspect that you brought out, Gaurav Prabhu, that the identification of body. So, if for an embodied, so if we know that the body and soul are different, and I am different from the body, then things become quite easy to understand. Actually, every stressful situation can be easily handled if we are clear with this identification. I'll just play a small thing here. George, can I ask you to do something for me? Can you point to your hand? Point to your hand. Yep. And point to your elbow. Point to your leg. And point to your head. Point to your eyes. Point to yourself. Why there? That's your chest. Is that you? No? Is that your head? So, yeah, thank you for joining in that. So that's a small thing. Like whoever you ask and you say point to yourself, the first, they will probably do something like that. That is because everybody has an instinct that the soul actually resides in the... Actually, Bhagavad Gita clearly describes that the soul resides in the region of the heart. So here it was very this identification, like most of us, we think, I am the body. See, this is something that I really understood only when I came in touch with the acharyas who were teaching all these students. The students, others who were teaching this. When I say, this is my hand. For example, if I say, this is my laptop. So if I say, this is my laptop, I am different from this laptop. Right? Yes or no? Yes or no? Anybody can say. Yes? Hopefully. So, I am different from the laptop. The same way, if I say, if this is my book, so I am different from the book. When I say this is my hand, I am actually different from my hand, from this thing. And when I say this is my body, that means I am different from this body. It means I am something other than this body. And that identification is the key thing, which Krishna brings out in the chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, where he says that you are not the body and you are the spirit soul. And once that misidentification, today we are misidentifying our body with our soul. And therefore anything, like all the pressures that we spoke about, like aging, like honor, like wealth, things like that, all that we saw, when it happens to the body, we think that it happens to us and we become stressed. But when we understand this principle that I am different from the body and this soul is eternal, aging will not matter, wealth does not matter, dishonor does not matter, things become easy to handle. So stresses become very, very easy to handle if this identification is clear. For example, we are sitting here and suddenly I hear somebody crashed into a car there. And I go out and see, I don't go out, but I think by the sound of it that he has crashed into my car. Then I become kind of agitated or upset. But when I go and take a look, he actually hit your car. Then I'm okay, because my car is okay. That's because I have an identification with the car, and therefore something happening to the car is taken up as though happening to me. That's the road rage that we see on the roads. But if I understand that I am different from the car, then automatically I understand that, okay, it has happened. At least I'm okay. So that's the thing. The body and soul are important. Like that identification is important. So it's a nice statement that we are not human beings with a spiritual experience. We are spiritual beings with a human experience. Mostly we live in the first side of the statement. We think that, okay, we are just having a spiritual experience. But actually saying we are all spirit souls who are having a human experience. So if this point is clear, things will become easy. The third thing that will help in overcoming stress or handling of stress. So as I was mentioning this, we will be approaching solution in two ways. One is at the mental level, that is at the level of the mind, which is the most complex thing, and then which is at the physical level. So at the mental level, this chanting and meditation helps a lot. So as we come in the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya, so we chant this Maha Mantra, which is written in Kali Santana Upanishad, that Harer Nam, Harer Nam, Harer Namaiva Kevalam, Kalau Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gater Anyata. That is in this day and age of Kali, the best way, or that there is no other way, than to chant the holy name. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is present right here, he gave us this holy name, that Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this powerful mantra, if are done, there are two ways of chanting this mantra. One is on a solitude, like on a single level, which we call the japa, where you have the beads in our hand, and on every bead we chant the whole mantra, and then we chant like 108 times, and that becomes one round, and like that we do as many rounds as possible in the day. Or actually some who have taken up tutorship within ISKCON, they do 16 rounds a day. So that's one type of meditation. And then the other type of meditation is Sankirtan Yajna, where you sit down and chant with everyone around you, with musical instruments, with people, and there is a leader who's singing the Mahamantra, and then all the people are hearing the Mahamantra, and then they sing back, and the leader hears. So the hearing and chanting is continuously happening, and that is another powerful way of meditation. So this chanting actually elevates the soul. It gives the soul a chance to connect to the, as I always like to say, whenever we go to a guest's house, we always, these days we don't ask, Pani dijiye, like, can you give me a glass of water? No, we ask, what is the Wi-Fi password? Because that's the usual thing. So the same way, this chanting is a password to connect to the Wi-Fi network that is within us, the network of the Supreme. So by this, we will be able to tap into the Paramatma who's within us, and that will get. So when the connection with the Paramatma is there, he makes us. When decisions come, he helps us. This is good. This is bad. Therefore, take the good one. And if that Wi-Fi connection is not there, then although we might do a Google search, what is the best thing to do? But still, the result will be negative. We don't know. And we will do whatever our mind says. So if we are in tune with the Paramatma, then he will guide us through every aspect of our life. And then the third aspect is the aspect of food, vegetarian food. So it is prescribed that all of us accept vegetarian food. Why? Krishna himself says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yomay bhaktya prayachati. So he says that anybody who offers me leaf, flower, fruit or water, I will accept it. I mean, with love, if he offers, I'll accept it. And it's clearly defined in our scriptures as to how this, what do I say? Yeah, how the food, it's basically said, what you are, what you eat. So how the food affects our consciousness. So this vegetarian food, that too food that is offered to Krishna, when we eat it, it automatically affects our consciousness, removes all our karma, and therefore it makes it easy for us to handle our day-to-day activities. Whereas if we take food which is non-vegetarian, things like that, they already involve, like when an animal is about to be slaughtered and he's already in pain and anger and or kind of, he's in fear, and when that animal is slaughtered, there are toxins released in the body, and that flesh, if it's eaten, those toxins are eaten by us, they come into us, and that is what drives us to be even more crazy, even more things that push us more towards a stressful situation. But if we concentrate on what we eat, and if we eat the right things like prasad, Krishna, which we offer to Krishna, then automatically what is going in is pure, then whatever comes out will be pure. So this is the opposite of the computer principle, GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. This is the opposite. You put pure things in and only pure things will come out. So that's the aspect of vegetarian food. And then the third aspect is, of course, the act of karma yoga. Like actually this is an example of a mother. Basically, a mother does service to her child selflessly. There is no, what do you say? There is nothing that the mother needs back. In whatever be the case, the mother is selflessly serving the child. Same way, what Krishna tells in the chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita, he talks about karma yoga, on how everything that we can do, everything that we do, we can offer to the Lord. And then what happens, and if this is done in a selfless service mode to the Lord, then automatically he blesses us with intelligence that can help us take our decisions in the right way. That in any everyday situations of stress, we will be able to cope up with that in a very effective way. So that's one thing. This is another example. So mind control. This is another beautiful verse from the Bhagavad Gita. So where it says the vairagya and abhyasa. So these are the two things, detachment and practice. These are the two things that are needed for us to control our mind. So first of all, we need to control the mind, make the mind our friend. And how do we control the mind? Through chanting, through meditation. And for that, what do we need? We need detachment and practice. So we need to do it on a regular basis, and we don't have to be carried away by the different attachments that come along with us. So detachment and abhyasa can help us. And then, so those were some of the steps on how controlling the mind becomes a key thing in this aspect. And so at the end, we will have a short kirtan, where this kirtan will be, we will understand how it actually releases of all our stress. But then before that, at more practical steps. So devotees, as sometimes when we take up to devotional service, we become, or at least I became little too much of a devotee. We call it as a pure devotee syndrome, that everything is taken care of by Krishna. So we think that, okay, I have become a devotee now, or I am taking to Krishna, Bhagavad Gita, everything will be taken care of Krishna. But so either we are on the material side, where we don't believe in anything of Krishna, and we just do it by ourselves, and we think, everything is under my control, I'll take care of it. Or we become like, everything. I mean, of course there are pure devotees who exist in this world who are completely dependent on Krishna, but we cannot achieve that stage very easily. So that's why Krishna gives this example of this Damodar Leela, where Mother Yashoda is trying to tie, because he's a very naughty boy, she's trying to tie him. And when she's trying to tie him, every rope she brings to tie him, it's falling short of 2 inches. Like she just couldn't tie him, they're 2 inches short. When she keeps getting ropes from here and there, and all of the Vrindavan folks get the ropes, but still they're falling 2 inches short. And Mother Yashoda is trying very, very, very hard to do that. And seeing her, Krishna becomes merciful and then finally allows her to tie him down. So our Acharya has explained that these 2 inches are basically, one is our effort, the second is Krishna's mercy. So when we take up to devotional service, it's not that we don't do anything and we just say that, okay, everything is Krishna's mercy and we leave it up to Krishna. No, he will take care of my stress. No. We have to do our effort and then Krishna will also be merciful. When these two things come together, that's when we will be able to achieve what we want to do. So that's what is the aspect. So we have to do our step in terms of chanting, in terms of regular sadhana, and then then Krishna's mercy will come. So as part of that regular sadhana, actually what I learned from His Grace HG Prabhu, our temple president, is these also these practical steps, where he very wonderfully talks about these. Like every person actually needs to exercise in life, because we think that our body is it's very good and it will remain forever, but it's a machine. So we need to keep it oiled. So things like some practical things we always have to take, like body relaxation exercise. Good to do pranayam or Surya Namaskar. I mean, I'm actually talking to myself as well. Good to do this on a regular basis, just to keep our body fit enough to we can serve Krishna. Then physical exercise like a yoga or a workout routine. And then of course it's sometimes life coaching, like talk therapy or a life coaching, things like these help us on a practical basis. So you take care of the body and you take care of the mind, then we can be stress free, just totally stress free. Because there are some other healthy tips which also help us, like planning. One of the biggest things, like you have to schedule some time to yourself. I mean, I have to schedule some time to myself. Like really sit and think, what am I doing and why am I doing this? Is this the right way to do it? When we think about it, when we plan up, this is one thing which I learned. Like if we plan and make a list, it's much easier. Like this Vaishika Prabhu very nicely says, when you write it down, you are actually changing it from ether to something material. And when you write it down, it becomes, it's concrete. And then you can just tick them off and things move forward. So some small other helpful tips. So, and this is of course the benefits of management. Physical health gets better, more energy and stamina. All these things. So of course there is a small paradox. First we lose our health to gain wealth. This is our everyday situation. In our younger days, we do lose, we just go for the thing and we lose our health to gain wealth. And then finally, at the older age, then we lose our wealth to gain back our health. This is always the case. But if, as we saw, if we live a balanced life, Krishna talks about this in the Bhagavad Gita also. He said, a person who sleeps too much or sleeps too little, a person who eats too much or eats too little, cannot be considered a yogi. That means we have to sleep the right amount, we have to eat the right amount, and we have to have a balance in our life. That balance is key to being stress-free. And that can be achieved by sadhana. Sadhana is a proper chanting on mantra meditation, which will help us free our mind free our mind. And once our mind is free, then we are able to take perfect decisions, to be stress free. And of course, and then the other aspect of sadhana is this chanting of holy name. Congregationally, you can come together to chant the holy name. So that's what I wanted to end. I basically want to thank Srila Prabhupada for all his teachings from the Bhagavad Gita, and I got most of these points from the different people mentioned here primarily, and just learned from all of them, just which I wanted to present. So if there is any, thank you for taking your time and attending this talk, and if there is any questions or discussions, we could take it for 5 minutes, and then we can do some practical thing. We have invited our friend Paramananda Gopal Prabhu, who can help us go through a meditational chanting. That will just be a practical thing that we can do. Any questions? Go ahead. Yeah, thank you. We have prasadam in some time at 8:30. Would you like to have? Okay. Maybe there is some prasadam out here. You could please accept some prasadam. But thank you very much for coming. Hare Krishna. Sorry, Prabhuji, go ahead. The mic is there. You can walk by this way.
Prabhuji, thank you very much for the nice lecture.
Thank
you. Taking us through different concepts. Recently, well, let me take a step back. So obviously we believe in scriptures, and we believe in the greatness of Hare Krishna Muhammad, and the importance of taking shelter of Sadhu, Shastra Guru, devotee association, and then of course process of initiation for cleaning the consciousness, etc., staying the course, and the supreme destination in Golok Vrindavan, in the shelter of Lord. So, but at the same time, so this works to quite some extent, for sure.
Okay.
Sometimes it is very bewildering to see that even after doing all this, there is a lot of fall down, and we behave like very ordinary material people. And myself, in the past 1 or 2 weeks, past 1 week, I am extremely stressed actually because of that. Because one couple that we were exposed to in this spiritual life. So they were actually nice couple, but very disappointing things have happened, and that is after initiation and all that. So it is very bewildering how something like this can happen. So what do you think is the cause for this kind of stress? This is very much related. I was relating to the different aspects of stress that you were talking about.
Right.
And any comments you might want to make on that, or any? So it's difficult, but I know
it's a good question, tough question. But praying at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, I'll just try to answer something. So yes, Prabhuji, yeah. This is one thing which His Holiness Varsana Swami Maharaj actually told us once. Like when I was in Penn State University, and of course it was a small university, lots of devotees together, and we also had some issues, things like that, and we were really thinking like, actually things that come up to we were all devotees working together in a university, trying to preach, things like that. But then of course some misunderstandings, things like that came up, and things were very hot. And suddenly, all of a sudden, His Holiness Varsana Swami Maharaj, who is a direct disciple of Srila Prabhupada and who lives in New Vrindavan Dham, he appeared. And then he told us the story of Trinavarta. Thank you, Masaji, once again. Thank you. He told us the story of Trinavarta, and he just kind of removed all the problems. As part of that, he mentioned that, yes, devotees, thank you. Devotees, when we take up to devotional service, we have come into devotional service by Krishna's mercy, and of course, our previous lifetimes, there is a lot of baggage that all of us have come with. Like I have come with a lot of baggage, they have come with a lot of baggage, things like that. So when we come into devotional service, our most interactions with the outside world reduces, and we try to, do more satsang, more attachment with devotees, things like that. So the karma that has already built up for many lifetimes, how are we going to get rid of all that karma? So that actually has to come through the devotees around us. So what happens is, some way or other, our own karma is coming back to us, but because we are not interacting with the outside world, it comes with the devotees around us. So there, Varsana Maharaj point, we have to, instead of putting back, we actually have to be grateful that they are actually, and if they are actually getting our karma, and then if we don't respond to it, if we don't react to it, then we are actually breaking that karma cycle. But if we react to it, then we are getting into more and more and more karma cycle. But if we respond to it, then thinking, oh, I'm so grateful that, I'm under this stress through you, but that I'm just getting rid of my karma. Then that cycle is broken. And then we become grateful to these devotees who are actually becoming instruments of our own karma so that we can purify ourselves and go move forward. Very tough to accept initially when Varsana Maharaj told us, but then slowly and slowly, as we put into practice, we can understand that these situations, yes, in our devotee circles, these situations occur because each one of us is having our own problem, our own luggage, our own things. And with all that luggage, we come into Krishna consciousness. Actually, this is also what I heard from Gaurang Prabhu. We think that as soon as, Krishna consciousness, we treat our temples as hospitals, right? These are spiritual hospitals where we are getting rid of our problems. So when you come to a hospital, assuming that the other person is not a patient, is like a problem, because he's also a patient, I'm also a patient, both of us are here trying to get rid of our things. So of course, as part of that, things will be there. But if we understand it as, okay, this is Krishna's way of getting me rid of all my karma, and if I can respond to it, that's why he said that, Varsana Maharaj, responsibility is the ability to respond to situations. It's tough. I definitely agree it's tough. I myself couldn't do many times, but we just try and we pray to the Lord that please help me. And of course, the second, that's a philosophical aspect, but the practical aspect, yes, is also you can talk to senior Vaishnavas around you. You can describe the situation, then maybe they can, based on your psychophysical nature, based on the other psychophysical, they'll be able to, because they have seen all this happening and they know how things happen, and they can give positive feedback on how it could be improved. So yes, it's primarily looks to be like our karma which is affecting. So that's why we have to understand that we are not the body, we are the spirit soul. And when we understand that, we understand that, okay, these things that are coming in, we also respect that they are devotees, they are also trying their best. They are not, they are also spirit souls, but they have their problem baggage. And somehow things might not be, but we respect each other and still try to move forward. Then Krishna will get us above that. Actually, if you see, I had little bit issues with another devotee in Pennsylvania when I was there. But now, like over the years, we are the closest of friends. I really cherish his friendship. At one point of time, we were just not accepting each other. But now I really cherish his friendship. And both of us, it's like that. So when you grow above that, it becomes the closest friendship that you can have. But that's where it needs our continuous effort, and we understand that we are not pure yet. It's the other thing that Acharyas give an example is, of course, we have taken up all of these things, but it's like plugging the wire of a fan. The fan has been moving, and you remove the wire, the fan will still move for some more time, so that old things will remain. And as another thing that they give is, when you're very dirty and we are taking a shower, so the dirt is going off, but we cannot say that, oh, I'm already in the shower, why is the dirt there? But the dirt is actually going out, but if you continue to remain in the shower, then finally all the dirt goes away. So that's the process of devotional service, that we will see our own things coming out or other things coming out, but when we continue the process of devotional service, when we continue chanting, continue satsang, sadachar, seva, then we will get rid of all the layers of anarthas that are covering actually us, and then we will become pure Vaishnavas. But of course, practically it's a step-by-step process. Is that? I'm sorry, I don't know if I've
Thank you,
addressed.
Prabhuji. That is, no, of course, very nice explanation. One thing is, we are often told when we get initiation, then the karma is taken by the guru.
I know. I knew as soon as I say that you will tell. Okay.
Yeah, but that, see, I mean, if the karma is taken, then why on earth will come again?
Yeah, good point. So actually there is, Srila Rupa Goswami mentioned that karma is in different stages. Kutam, Bijam, Phalon, Mukam. So the karma that is in very, kuta, like very not even manifested state. Bijam, which is in a seed form. And then the karma which is it's already fruitified. So when during initiation, please correct me if anybody, if I'm wrong. During initiation, the kuta and the bija, the dal, that karma is taken out. But the karma which is already fructified, we still have to go through and take in and complete it. And it is very important that after initiation, we continue. That's why we take care of Hare Krishna. We take the vows, and so that we live a clean and pure life, so that we don't acquire more karma, more bad karma. So these regulations, rules and regulations for initiations are so that we can lead a pure life continuing forward. So our Guru has actually helped us by taking off our the kuta, all that karma, but our fructified karma we still have to go through. And of course Krishna is very wonderful. Krishna, for devotees, he actually controls the karma individually. That's the beauty of Krishna. So it's what my counselor, he always mentions to me, is that Krishna, he controls every person. Like for example, if a person is going to go and he's going to get into an accident, if that accident is good for his spiritual health, Krishna will let that accident happen under his control. And if that accident is not good for health, Krishna will make sure that under his control that accident does not happen, because that is good for the devotee to go forward in spiritually. Whereas for a material person, if an accident is going to happen according to his destiny, then that accident will happen under the control of material energy. Material energy controls and make sure that the accident happens and whatever things. But for a devotee, Krishna personally takes care. So Krishna sees, okay, if this happens, it is good for the devotee to develop forward, then he makes it happen. If he thinks that it does not happen, then he will go forward, then he makes it not happen. So personally, I can share with you my one thing. Maharaj Kunti prays that, give me calamities, then and I can remember you. And Krishna also, on a continuous basis, actually, as we grow in our devotional life, he gives us tests. But my prayer to Krishna is generally actually, don't test me, because I know I will fail. So better not test me. So that's one way. So you could have that continuing prayers to Krishna that, help me move forward. Then he will guide at every level, and he will help us move forward. Yes, we have to go through these interactions. And the other thing is, when you go through this and learn it, when we go more and more into devotional service, when we have younger people coming in, what happens? The experiences that we have gone through, it actually help us train and guide them. So sometimes some people might not just learn by listening. Some people have to experience to learn it. So that way Krishna actually makes us sometimes these things so that we can learn out of the experience. And actually, you don't know, going forward in life, 20 years from now, when you look back, you might see, those situations were very good because I learned them, and because of which I was able to help all these people. So that's, again, Krishna's plan is beyond. Actually, that's the final lesson that I want to leave with. Thank you for bringing that leave things to Krishna. You understand that your life is managed by Krishna, you're happy, you're stress-free. You can be completely stress-free. But if you think that, I can manage it, then stress will be there. Krishna will manage means, do your thing and think that Krishna will take care and will be stress-free. So, I want to stop there. Thank you. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Madhuri. So, we will have, Paramanand Gopal Prabhu, we'll have some short kirtan till 8 o'clock. And then we'll go to Gaurarti. So this kirtan is a practical, we wanted to have this as a practical way on how we can actually, by Sankirtan, come out of the stress of our life. So this chanting is a simple way where the lead singer sings and we all listen. And then once he sings the mantra, we all sing and he listens. So this listening and chanting, listening and singing keeps continuing. And this synergy that builds up actually touches all our hearts. And that is the Sankirtan Yajna which Mahaprabhu has given for us for this life. So let's do some 10 minutes of Mahamantra chanting, and then we will go for Gaur Aarti. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Radha Madan Mohan ji ki jai, Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Bol.